So you went from a multi-million-dollar business to not being able to buy food to feed yourself.
That's correct.
She says a Covington woman took millions from her in a scheme that stretched over more than a decade. We first told you about Ronda Behrens last week, but what we didn't quite answer, was why the woman allegedly siphoned millions from her. Here's part 2 of my latest investigation.
There's a good boy.
Around the time Hurricane Katrina hit, Northshore real estate agent Ronda Behrens was reinventing herself. The storm created a windfall for Northshore realtors, and her business was booming. She won awards for it and was a leader in the community.
I had money. I had a lot of money. And I'm a believer in what goes around comes around.
More than 10 years ago, Behrens started loaning money to her hairdresser's daughter, Melissa Cagle. Cagle told her she needed legal fees for 2 Ficarra family lawsuits. In exchange, Behrens says Cagle promised her a piece of the expected multi-million-dollar settlements.
I have all the IOUs.
This stack of handwritten IOUs, evidence that one little loan snowballed into dozens more.
Was $10,000 here and $5,000 here, and it just kept going and going and going. So every time I had a sale, she took my whole commission. I could barely keep my head above water.
Under the guise that you had to give her the money so she could continue the lawsuit, so she could get a payout and then pay you back.
Yes, and it was always close, always close.
Behrens says court documents that she now knows were fake appeared to back up Cagle's story, that 2 attorneys kept asking for more money for court fees and fines. She says Cagle told her it was all filed under seal, so if she talked about it to anyone, the court would throw it out and they would lose everything. Behrens' close relative also got roped in. He was a financial lifeline for her, and ultimately, Cagle started getting money directly from him, too.
I met with Missy because I didn't believe all this stuff was true, and she convinced me that it was true.
But those attorneys never heard of Cagle, and the invoices were all fake. In fact, the lawsuits had ended 10 years earlier, and they didn't settle for millions like this fake settlement agreement says. Her father's bankruptcy records indicate he was awarded $175,000 in one lawsuit. The other was thrown out.
And to hear it from Missy, and I have emails to this effect, she said, "What's the big deal? I made a mistake." A mistake. That's how she's viewed it. If she made one mistake, I mean, she's been lying, stealing, conducting fraud for over a decade. I mean, the woman's pathological.
Both Behrens and her relative realized last June, after Cagle was arrested for stealing from another older man, that they were never getting their money back.
Here's 2011, $1.4 million.
They each have filed police reports against Cagle, Behrens with Covington PD, and her relative with the Sandy Springs Police in Georgia. She's been arrested and charged with exploitation of the infirmed in St. Tammany and has a warrant out for her arrest in Georgia.
Right now, she's footloose and fancy-free. I know that the justice system will prevail, but it's so slow.
She's hoping federal investigators will get involved. Former federal prosecutor Matthew Chester says they could.
Typically, in terms of kind of like dollar thresholds, they want to see something substantial. So 5 figures, high 5 figures, maybe $100,000 or more.
Let's go inside.
Behrens says she lost $3 million. Her relative, $500,000. And there are more alleged victims, including another relative who's battling colon cancer.
Missy was freaking out, you know. Oh, my father's going to take me off the trust. I need $1,000, blah, blah, blah. And said, oh, I'll pay your, when I get my money, I'll pay, it was a $47,000 chemo bill. She says, I'll pay it all for you.
But Behrens says she never did.
I think prosecuting in the federal system makes sense because the charge ends up sticking with the defendant, and you generally can receive prison sentences, depending on what the guidelines say.
So why did she do it? Cagle's attorney declined to be interviewed, and our calls to Cagle weren't returned. But looking back on 1,600 pages of texts Behrens says she exchanged with Cagle, there were hints along the way. Cagle asks Behrens to get a loan at some Mississippi casinos to pay attorneys, quote, "If you wanted it that bad, you would go to Scarlet Pearl."
How did you first figure it out that it was a lie?
Missy confessed.
Behrens' close relative, who asked us not to use his name, says Cagle emailed and texted a number of times confessing, including this one, quote, "I gambled and I paid bills. I am not lying anymore. At first I used money to pay my attorneys. In my sick mind, I thought that I could win enough money to pay you and Ronda, and it just got deeper and deeper." Cagle allegedly gambled away her own life savings and the savings of up to 10 others along the way. Something none of them would have ever bet would have ended this way. As of now, Fakira's trial in St. Tammany Parish is scheduled for September 30th.